Dear poetry lovers, I think it would be really fun for adults to have literature classes, and the way that they get a grade is if they're kinder people. It's not like a grade on paper, and they don't get any money. They just sit and they talk about great works of literature. And if they're kinder, the teacher gives them a better grade. I don't know, Just an idea. This is a book of poems by Philip Levine. And I saw him speak many years ago at the Free Library. He died, I think, a few years back, but he was a poet and professor late into his life. And there was one time I went on a reading diet because I read way too many books. And I realized that I didn't give any space for my own thoughts and my own visions, and even just sitting and breathing. And I took a break, but I cheated during my break. And I cheated with poems by Philip Levine. And when I read one of his poems after not reading for several days, anything, it felt like eating a fig. It felt like if you had never had a fig before and you had a fig. So, there's several poems in this book, and I'm going to find one for you today. Let's see. Okay. M. Degas teaches art and science at Durfee Intermediate School, Detroit, 1942. Philip Levine writes a lot about Detroit and Michigan, where he was from. He made a line on the blackboard, one bold stroke from right to left, diagonally downward, and stood back to ask, looking as always at no one in particular, "What have I done?" From the back of the room, Freddie shouted, "You've broken a piece of chalk." M. Degas did not smile. "What have I done?" he repeated. The most intellectual students looked down to study their desks, except for Gertrude Bimler, who raised her hand before she spoke. M. Degas, you have created the hypotenuse of an isosceles triangle. Degas mused. Everyone knew that Gertrude could not be incorrect. "It is possible," Louis Warshawski added precisely, "that you have begun to represent the roof of a barn." I remember that it was exactly 20 minutes past 11, and I thought at worst this would go on another 40 minutes. It was early April. The snow had all but melted on the playgrounds. The elms and maples bordering the cracked walks shivered in the new winds, and I believed that before I knew it, I'd be swaggering to the candy store for a Milky Way. M. Degas pursed his lips, and the room stilled until the long hand of the clock moved to 21, as though in complicity with Gertrude, who added confidently, "You've begun to separate the dark from the dark." I looked back for help, but now the trees bucked and quaked, and I knew this could go on forever. I'm going to act like a teacher now. What speaks to you in this poem? What words do you adore? Big truck. What feelings do you have when you hear this poem? After you read this poem, do you hear anything in your life more clearly? Are you more present? When you look around, do you see what's in front of you? And can you name it? Are you kinder? You tell me.